Hi, thank you for downloading FarAwayFan. I'd just like to ask you if I can to rate the show. It'll help introduce us to new listeners. And you can also find us on Instagram and Twitter at FarAwayFanPod. That's FarAwayFanPod. Thanks, and I hope you enjoy the show.
Hi, my name is Andrés. I come from Norway, and I am a fan of River Plate in Argentina. And I am the creator of River Plate Nor on Twitter.
Hi, Andrés. How are you doing?
Hey, man, I can't complain. It's a great day. A little bit cloudy outside here compared to how you're feeling down in India, but it's still a good day.
You didn't have to start the day by telling me it was 12 degrees.
Yeah, it's compared to India, this is in my eyes it's a little bit cold compared to India, obviously, but it's a typical spring in Norway. So
Tell me about the town you live in.
yeah, I live in Aalesund, or just close to Aalesund, which is medium-sized town on the western coast part of Norway. It's a very old town. It's famous for two things. In 1904, the city burned down to the ground because of a huge fire. And when they rebuilt it in a style which was known at the time as Jugend style. So it's actually one of the best preserved Jugend style cities in the world. So we get a lot of tourists because of that.
Oh, wow.
And it's also a fishing capital of Norway, because Norway is huge when it comes to fishing, import and export of fish and processing and stuff like that. So Ålesund is being a coastal town. It has a big fishing fleet, and it's very well known for exporting cod, salted cod, which is used in bacalhau. So we have a lot of export to Portugal and Brazil especially.
I offer the guests some coconut water, but I don't think your weather is really great for coconut water at the moment. So
No, I doubt it.
yeah, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just send you something a little bit.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Yeah, hopefully someday I'll get you a real one.
Yeah, hopefully. It would be cool.
So Andres, tell me how and why River Plate?
Well, first off, I was adopted from Colombia when I was just a baby,
All right.
and I grew up here in Norway. And I always been a fanatic about football. And when I was a kid, I used to follow not just English football is huge in Norway. English football is it's always been the biggest league to follow.
Right.
So I'm a big Manchester United fan as well. I started following Manchester United in the early 90s.
Okay.
And as I started to playing video games or computer games, I just grew more fascinated by European football as a whole. I found out a lot about the different leagues and different countries and different players. And when Championship Manager started to evolve, I was an avid fan of that, and I used to play that all the time. And I often sought out to play in South America, being from South America.
Right.
And you didn't have South American football on TV or anything like that. And this is pre-YouTube years and everything like that. So when I got a copy of Championship Manager 98, 99, and I started playing with River Plate, because you always heard about River Plate, you always heard about Boca Juniors, just two major South American clubs. You always heard about Flamengo and stuff like that. But Argentine football really got to me. I've always been very fascinated by Argentine football, and during World Cups and such, I always supported Argentina when Colombia didn't participate, or after they went out after the group stages. And like in a World Cup of 1990, I used to support Colombia heavily, and then I supported Argentina when Colombia went out. So the Argentine football has always been close to my heart. And with the Championship 99 with River Plate, it just took off really, because River Plate had such a great squad at that time, such great players, and it was just something else than you could find in Europe pretty much. So I started following River Plate then. I was just like a Championship Manager fan. But as the years went on, I continuously started playing Football Manager and stuff like that. And I always had a save game with River Plate, and I just got more and more into it. And I used to follow the games by YouTube, actually, in 2010, around 2010-ish, something like that.
Right.
And I just got real fascinated by it. And I've been a River Plate fan ever since, really. So in 2013, I decided, or actually late 2013, beginning of 2014, I decided that I wanted to create a Twitter account for River Plate because there was only one English-speaking River Plate account, but it wasn't very active. I think it just had a couple of, maybe 25 posts or something like that.
Okay.
So I decided, I wanted to do something about it. And I obviously, in retrospect, maybe I should have, called the account River Plate English or something like that. But I decided to call it River Plate Nord. I just, started figuring out things about River Plate because I speak a little bit Spanish. And a friend of mine from Norway, he was actually studying abroad in Buenos Aires as an exchange student. So I had a bit of contact with him. So he helped me out in the beginning. We sort of like run the account together, and he helped me out with news, rumors, stuff like that. And I just started reading every online newspaper and followed every fan blog that I could, and just started translating and just really just supporting people with the River Plate related news. And it's kind of been growing. And when we met Boca Juniors in the Copa Libertadores final back in 2018, that's when it took off, because for the first time ever, Norwegian TV or Norwegian broadcasting, they decided to show the games live on TV.
Oh.
So the big television channels and the internet channels around here, they were looking to create a lot of sparks around the final, and the fact that they were going to show South American Champions League live on Norwegian television. So I was interviewed by a couple of media outlets, and that's when it really took off. And Tom, a good friend of mine who runs the River Plate English account on Twitter, him and I, we started talking when he created an account. I helped him out with a logo, and we just kept in touch ever since. And we decided to make a podcast. We've been talking about making a podcast for so many years. And actually at late last year, we finally made a dream come true. So we started up a English-speaking River Plate podcast. And so we keep in good touch, and we help out each other. And we talk every now and then from time to time on the WhatsApp and stuff like that, and just exchange information and talk about life in general. So he's grown to become a very good friend of mine.
So what's your earliest memory of the club?
Earliest memory? It has to be 99, when, the team was just, they had all the young superstars like Saviola and Pablo Aimar, Andrés de Alessandro. They had Juan Pablo Sorín. They had Abidan Sierra in goal. They had just a fantastic lineup, and Cavenaghi coming back a few years later. It was just, that team was pretty much unbeatable back home in Argentina. They won the Clausura. Saviola, he was just the typical wonder kid. He scored lots of goals, and it was just a fantastic team. Really, it was just, if you're gonna list a favorite team consisting of different players, I think Aimar, Saviola, D'Alessandro, and obviously Sorín, they're all going to be on that team at one point or another, I guess.
So when did you start really watching it? Were you getting games at that time?
No, we didn't. So that was in the, it wasn't in the earliest days of internet, but it was, internet had come a little on the way from what it was. So it was manageable to Google up results and follow it through Google, but I could never watch any games. So when I first started watching games, that was actually in 2012 or 2013, yeah. But the Superliga, they used to broadcast the games online via YouTube. So you could watch every single Superliga game via YouTube come Sunday, which is the game day in Argentina. And unfortunately for me, River Plate is always either it's the second last game of the night or the very last game of the night, because they always, Boca Juniors and River Plate being the two biggest teams in Argentina, they are always scheduled to play late.
Okay.
So I could only watch the games for River when I didn't have anything to do the next day on the following Monday. Going into work at 8 o'clock in the morning, and games starting maybe 1 o'clock in the morning, it was impossible to watch. So, but I used to watch the highlights all the time, and I got to follow Copa Libertadores via internet and found, different kind of streams, obviously, to watch them. And that's how I really got going.
Have you been to Argentina to see a game?
No, I'm going down next summer. Hopefully, that's the plan. I'm going to visit South America next summer.
Okay.
I'll be visiting Tom and a few others in Argentina next summer, hopefully. And we're already decided to go catch a couple of games in Argentina, not just River Plate, but all around. And he's going to show me around and, just get the feel of the Argentine football from day to day. It's going to be great.
The El Clasico planned?
I don't know. I don't think... if I'm lucky, I get to go to that game, but... who knows? But hopefully that will be the ultimate thing. I promise myself that one of the things I'm going to do before I die is watch Super Classico at El Monumental.
That rivalry is fierce, man.
Yeah, Boca Juniors is they're the most hated rivals that we have. I mean, a couple of years ago, River Plate managed to get. They were degraded to the second division. Or the first division below Superliga, yeah.
That was 2011?
2011, yeah. And, Boca fans, they were cheering and they've been, creating so many songs. And that's been their go-to thing ever since it happened. Even though we just stayed down for 1 year, it was like the Boca fans, they found something new every single time to use against us in terms of going down. And when we faced them in the Copa Libertadores fans, it was actually the best thing that could have happened to the club because, obviously we ended up winning the game over 2 games.
Yeah.
But, it was just so much drama, with the second leg moved to Madrid, talks of it not being played and the bus attack and everything. It was just, pure mayhem. And, for us to win, they can sing all they want about us being degraded. But, now we have a Copa Libertadores. They have more Copa Libertadores titles than us, but we have the one that counts because we beat them in the final. So for a River Plate fan, that is, it's probably the greatest moment in our illustrious history. River Plate against Boca Juniors is just a different level of rivalry. The saying is that approximately 60% of the people living in South America supports either Boca or River. Doesn't matter if you live in Brazil or Paraguay or Colombia or Uruguay, wherever. That's just go to speak volumes how big those two clubs are on the continent of South America. So it's a different kind of game down there.
It's crazy, man. And that kind of passion, I can understand. I understand the passion, but it's difficult to understand the violence. But I guess it comes from a long, drawn-out history between the two clubs, and just socially also, I think, right?
Yeah, football is such a big deal in Argentina because when the country is down in recession, the only thing you have to rely on is football games, and supporting your team. And a week prior to the first game of the 2018 finals, this was actually on the south coast of Argentina, which is almost, I believe it was close to 800 miles from Buenos Aires. There were two neighbors that, they've been neighbors their entire life. These were two guys in their 60s. And one was a supporter of River Plate, the other one was a supporter of Boca Juniors. And they started talking, just day to day. They've been living next door to each other for 30 years. And they just started talking about who's going to win the Copa Libertadores, and ended up in a huge fight. And one of the guys, I'm not sure if it was the Boca or the River fan, but one of them set fire to the other guy's home. And that was 800 miles from Buenos Aires. That was not in the city. They didn't get to go to the game or visit La Boca or visit the Nunes part of Buenos Aires. They were literally out on the countryside of Argentina, just arguing about which team was going to win the Copa Libertadores. And that just goes to speak volumes on how big River and Boca Juniors really are in Argentina. That's just in Argentina, They're huge. And these were two neighbors living next door to each other for 30 years, just started fighting and bickering. And, one guy sets fire to the other guy's homes. It's just crazy.
That's shocking.
Yeah,
it's crazy,
I mean, that's the kind of level of passion that you find in Argentina, So, like I said, that's River Plate against Boca Juniors. But if it had been Independiente versus Racing or San Lorenzo against Huracan or some other teams that stacked up against another, it would have been the same thing because the Argentine people, they're so proud. and they take so much pride in their football teams. That's their day-to-day sort of like survival. If your team performs well, you know that this is going to be a good week for you on work and with your friends. And there's people in Argentina or that lives in Buenos Aires that are Boca Juniors and River Plate fans, and they refuse to wear anything on their body with their rival's color. I mean, I saw a documentary about the Super Classico final, and there was a guy who was a River Plate fan, and he's a businessman. I believe he was a lawyer of some sort. Okay. He refused to wear a tie that was blue or yellow. It just he wouldn't do it. It didn't have anything blue or yellow in his office or on him or in his home, anything, because it's Boca colors. It's like it's the biggest betrayal that you can have. Is wearing colors of your enemy, and that's just, that's mind blowing.
Mind blowing. I saw something where this guy, he was an undertaker, and he was making coffins in the colors of Boca Juniors.
Yeah, they even have own cemeteries, the clubs that they have for supporters. If you're a Boca fan, you can buy a place in the Boca cemetery. If you're a River Plate fan, you can buy a place at the River Cemetery to be buried on the River Plate cemetery along with other fans. And people do that because it means so much to them. It's so important for them not to be buried next to it's called like an immortal enemy. Because you could, it would be the same thing as you and I. You could be a fan of Boca, I could be a fan of River Plate. We could have a great tone right now, just talking to each other. But when it came down to it, there were some things that we needed to avoid in terms of where to go, what to eat, what to wear. That's the lifestyle I'm living in Argentina. It sounds pretty sick. It does. It's to the point of too extreme, really.
It's bizarre, but
that's the way it is.
Yeah. Fuck, we could do a whole podcast just on this rivalry, man.
Yeah. I read somewhere that there's two places in the world where you can find McDonald's. The McDonald's logo is not red and yellow.
Wow.
One is obviously in Buenos Aires.
Right.
Obviously.
Yeah.
There's a couple of McDonald's in La Boca area where it has a blue and yellow McDonald's logo, not the red and yellow because of River Plate. Red is the River Plate color. The second one is actually in Turkey, in Istanbul, because red and yellow, that's the same color as Galatasaray. So in the Fenerbahce district of the Asian side of Istanbul, you can find a McDonald's that has a blue and yellow, same as in Buenos Aires. So that says a lot, It's just, it goes to show the severity of how much this really means to people.
It goes, how deep it is.
Yeah. But it's the same thing for me. I mean, when it comes to Super Classico, no matter what time of day it is, I always watch it, even though if I have to go to work the next day. That's the one game I always watch in the middle of the night. I would find the most horrible stream if it came down to that. I just have to watch the game. There's so many. It's just so much passionate feelings that needs to come out. So I'm pretty much just walking on eggshells the week before because I know that if we win the game, it's going to be a good week for me personally. None of my coworkers follow South American football other than what I tell them. When they ask me, how did River Plate do, or what kind of team should I follow in South America, I gladly tell them, but they don't have the same kind of passion for it as I do. When it comes to English football, I have a lot of friends that, some support Liverpool, some support Manchester City, some support Manchester United. It's the same banter, it's the friendly banter that goes with it. But, when it comes to River against Boca, that's a different story because it has so much to say. And that's just for me. I sit on a different side of the world. Yeah. Just imagine being part in Buenos Aires, how much it has to say for those guys.
So, tell me, who are your team legends?
My biggest idol would have to be, there are two players. Obviously I love Aimar. I love Saviola. But to me, Andrés D'Alessandro is the main reason. Him and I, we share the same name. First name, and he's just the technique that kid had when he was playing, it was just subliminal. And Fernando Cavenaghi when he came back home. Fernando Cavenaghi, or Cavagol as we like to call him, he's been my football hero for many years. He's been true and loyal to River Plate all the time. Even though he's been playing abroad, he actually have a tattoo of El Monumental on his forearm. So he takes River Plate with him wherever he goes. And he was the team captain last time we won the league championship. So, it was great to see him come back home to Argentina and playing for River Plate and becoming a top goal scorer, and also winning the Copa Libertadores in his final year as a River Plate player. So Fernando Cavenaghi and Andrés D'Alessandro are probably my two biggest heroes of all time.
Sometimes players are overlooked, right? Some players are overlooked or didn't get their due. Any ones in particular for you?
I think I would have to say Leonardo Ponzio, which is our current team captain. First of all, he's a fantastic midfielder. He does his job, doesn't make too much out of himself being on a pitch, but you can always rely on him. He never plays a bad game. Unfortunately, age and injuries has caught up to him in the past couple of years, but he's still going to go down as one of the biggest players in River Plate's history. And he wasn't even he didn't come up through the River Plate youth system. He came from Newell's Old Boys in Rosario, but he's been loyal to River Plate ever since. And he's been part of an era that's been one of River Plate's greatest eras in the history of time. A lot of people compare Gallardo's team to the legendary La Máquina team back in the 50s and 60s. So, Ponzio he's been the captain of that team. So, I think he has not gotten the recognition that he necessarily deserves, but I don't think he minds that too much. I think he likes being a little bit in the background, and he's kind of like when he speaks, everybody listen, but he doesn't speak too often. He's just like the perfect captain in every way. He leads by perfect example. He's been the chief of the midfield. He's been the undisputed leader of this team, and I honestly believe that he could have been picked for Argentina on a few occasions as well. But the standard for Argentine players is so high, but he definitely meets that standard. I think his biggest problem is that Esteban Cambiaso, a former River Plate player, was so solid on international level that he never got the chance. And Cambiaso and Mascherano, they were the two guys that sort of like filled up the anchor role in midfield, and that's where Ponzio has been exceptionally good for River Plate. He's been the ball winning midfielder, and just the kind of guy that does all the garbage work, if you can call it that, on midfield. He came to us at a time where we really needed him, and he's never looked back. And I think most River Plate fans use him as a River Plate boy, so to speak. Even though he came from Newell's and Rosario, everybody thinks of him as a true River Plate player. So he definitely deserves every bit of recognition he gets.
Another name you put down was Jonatan Maidana.
Yeah, Madonna. He actually came up through the Boca youth system. Somebody never got a chance at the first team, so Boca Juniors released him. Okay. And he came to River Plate. From the time he got into the starting 11, he never looked back. He was just, he's a defender with a big D. He just takes all the battles. It reminds me a lot of Japstam.
Okay.
Not the same class as Japstam, obviously, but he's the same kind of player. He's just relentless. He's a leader. He goes in and makes sure that he doesn't take any prisoners at all. And unfortunately for us, he decided to continue his career in Mexico. So he plays in Mexico now, but he's still very highly regarded by the River Plate fans, and he will always be a River Plate player to us no matter what.
He extended his contract by a year?
Yeah, it was different reasons. But one thing was that he hadn't major offers to go to Mexico at an earlier stage than he did. But he wanted to stay put for two reasons. One, he wanted River Plate to get money for him when he left. He wouldn't leave for free on a free transfer, and also because he wanted to win trophies with River Plate one last time. And he did. He did both of the things. So he went to Toluca in Mexico, and he's at the time and a place where it was probably his last shot of getting more money, getting more paid abroad, right? Because he had already turned 30, and they have much more money in Mexico than they do in Argentine football. So for him, it was probably the last chance he had to make a good, decent contract.
Someone of his caliber to put the club first, that's says a lot about the guy.
It does. And, you know, today, in terms of what Gallardo has been able to do since he came in, because he's pretty much had more or less the same squad, and he's brought up players from the youth system whenever that's been needed, but he's pretty much kept the team together. And to do that in this day and age, it's just unheard of, really, because Argentina as a country, they're in recession, and every team in Argentina, they depend on selling players in order to survive. And, you know, he's kept the team together more or less every single year. The players that have gone out the doors, he's always managed to replace them with, you know, mostly local talent, which is a good thing for us. What he's done in order to keep the team together has just been unbelievable. Any other team on the continent that has performed, if they'd performed the same way that River has for the past 6 years, they would have been dismantled maybe 3 or 4 times already, you know, because big European clubs would have been in line in purchasing their players.
So he's somebody who brings up a lot of youth. So that's what I want to talk about next. Young players you are looking forward to seeing more of.
I think Julián Álvarez is one player that, you know, he's already made a name for himself. Actually, last night I tweeted that I read an article. Yeah, I read an article online saying that Gonzalo Higuain, he wants to come back to River Plate and finish his career.
Right.
And Juventus are supposedly in talks with River in terms of exchanging Julián Álvarez for Gonzalo Higuain. And, you know, as much as I love Gonzalo Higuain, I would love to see him back at River Plate. I think the best thing for River would be to keep him and, you know, try to get money out of him, because he's going to be worth a whole lot of money. He's a very talented young player, and he's actually been scoring a few goals in the Copa Libertadores for the past 2 years. I think he can be the next big thing up front on the Argentine national team and come, you know, 2022, 2024 and such. There's also a couple of players in the back, like Gallardo's son, actually, Nahuel Gallardo. He plays left back. He's, you know, his father was you know, typical number 10, but his oldest son, he plays left back, and he has yet to make the big step onto a senior stage and, you know, compete at River Plate for a place. But he's been on loan to different Argentine clubs, and he's shown that he's got the level to perform. But, you know, he needs to make sure that he can, you know, take the level that he has and make it count on a level for River Plate as well. And that, you know, remains to be seen. But if he can do that, he can be a very good player. Also, we have a young midfielder called Cristian Ferreira. He's in my mind, I think maybe he could have played a little bit more, because he's such a big talent. I believe he's going to be 22 this year. But, you know, he's looked upon as more like the heir apparent to Leo Ponzio. He's a central midfielder with a big engine, and he can run all day long. But he's also more technical than Leo Ponzio. He's got good technical skills. So, you know, it remains to see if he managed to take the next step. But if he does, he could very well be a big name for European football come, you know, a couple of years ahead. So hopefully those three will manage to take the next step. When I left playing football when I was 27, I decided to one day become a coach. So I've taken different courses and such. So at the moment, I have the UEFA C license, so I can coach in lower leagues if I want. And I became a coach or assistant coach for my local team. At the time, we played in the fourth tier of Norway, 4th division. It's not a domestic league; it's a regional league. And
what's the name of the team?
Godø idrettslag. It's from a very small place. You know, Godø, the island of Godø it's like 25 minutes into the city center from here. We play games all over the municipality here and throughout the county of Møre og Romsdal. We actually managed to finish 3rd. We were on pace of actually winning the 4th division and going up to the 3rd division at one point, but we managed to screw that up a little bit at the end of the season. But we had a big bonus at the end, which was playing a national qualifier for the Norwegian Cup, which is a big thing in Norway. The Cup in Norway, it's always been a big thing. So when you're as far down in the division as we are, we have to play 2 qualifying games in order to go to the first round. And, we were the lowest seeded team.
No.
And the first thing we did in the first qualifying round, we managed to knock out one of our biggest rivals. We won 1-0 at home in a very cold winter's day, middle of February, I believe it was. We won 1-0. We knew we would have a tough opponent no matter what in the second round. We really didn't have any aspirations to win at all. But we managed to draw a team called Stryn, which is in a different county, nonetheless. It's like 2 hours from here, in a different county and different part of Norway. It's further in the land. So in the middle of the week, in March, it was pretty cold. We chartered a bus and drove into Stryn, and we came away with a 1-0 win.
Wow.
So we managed to qualify for first round, which meant that we would face a big name team at home.
Okay.
That's the biggest experience that I've had on a football field on a personal level, really, because it was just, we were complete underdogs. Nobody expected us to go and win 2 games, and we did. And when we won away, we had brought our fans with us in a different bus. So when we won 1-0, it was like there were fireworks. Our fans sent out fireworks, and they had flags, and they were singing. They had drums. It was just, total chaos out on the field, and, people were crying, and it was just, pure football joy, really. And it was something special that, I'll remember to the day I die, because when you're part of a football team, you're part of a brotherhood, and you go through ups and downs together. So to be part of that with those kind of players, even though I didn't play physically myself, I was on the sidelines, but it was just, it was amazing. So that is the best memory that I have in terms of being part of it myself. I managed to get my hands on a very special item, which is one of the kits that was it was printed up for the Copa Libertadores final in 2018 with Boca Juniors, and it's Juan Fernando Quintero's kit, actually. So I have that hanging up. I don't store it away. I have to hang it up,
Yeah.
But it hangs in my bedroom. So I don't even use it, because it's just, it's just too special. Yeah. It's like the Holy Grail. So that's one item that I cherish a lot. There's probably some kits that I could do without in my shirt collection. It's okay if I don't have them anymore, but that one, I would never get rid of it.
Amazing. How did you manage to get it?
I'd rather not say.
Okay.
It's a bit of a secret.
You have to talk about that River Plate kit. That sash is unique, man.
Yeah, La Banda Roja, the red band.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually it also plays into how River Plate got their nickname, because at the early days they used to have all white kits, and then when they moved to Nunes, they started having the tricolor, the one with the red, black, and white stripes on it, and then came the River Plate jersey with the red sash. That being called Los Millonarios or Los Millonarios. Back in the day, when you were wearing tuxedo and a big top hat and stuff like that, you usually had a band across.
Oh.
And I'm not sure if it plays from that. That I'm not particularly sure. I'm not going to say 100% that that's where it comes from. The thing was, when Boca Juniors started to decide what kind of kits they were wearing, they pointed. The myth says that they pointed to the first ship that came into La Boca Harbor, and that was a Swedish ship. So they took blue and yellow as their club colors, and they have the blue or the yellow across the chest.
Right.
So River wanted something similar and something unique, and the red sash is unique. So that's how it got to be.
Thank you so much for being on FarAwayFan. I hope you had some fun.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was a great experience.
Amazing. Thanks, man. Andrés.
Yeah, best. Yeah, it was real fun. I can't wait to hear the final result of this one. Take it easy.
You too.
All right, bye-bye.
Speak to you soon. Thanks.